Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing? You're welcome to our program today. My name is Dr. Chidi. I'm reaching you guys from Toronto, Canada. This is like always. I've been saying that a lot of times, but it's true. This is one interview that is very, very special to me, very dear to my heart, and which a lot of people reached out to me and said, "Is it possible to arrange something like this?" And I reached out to my guest, and I am glad that. But by special providence, I was able to connect with him and he agreed to come on the program tonight. Do me a favor, if today is your first time, make sure you subscribe and make sure that you put the notification bell so that anytime we come on, you will know that we are on. I'd like to apologize for the slight mix-up because we've changed and we have like 1 hour difference in our timing between Nigeria and Canada, well, the eastern part of Canada. And that's why I got mixed up and we lost 1 hour. So my apologies for that. Do me another favor by making sure that you share this broadcast, share it around to people who need to know. It's so sad how they've dealt with history. History is no longer being taught in our schools, as it were. So a lot of people don't know what the history is. And because of that, a lot of other people are taking advantage and rewriting history. Remember, there's a proverb that unless the lion tells the story, the hunter will always tell the story from his own perspective. So what we're trying to do is to hear the stories about the hunt from the side of the lion. And so my guest today is someone who responded to an interview that General Gowan granted during his 90th birthday celebration. He said a couple of things, and it is based on the response that this gentleman gave that I felt it was important to bring him to talk to us so that we can learn more. So please welcome my guest tonight, Chief Chuks Lebunam. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for reaching out to me when I reached out to you on Facebook and told you that I would like to have this interaction with you. Now, for the benefit of a lot of us who don't know who you are, I'd like to start from where I normally start with my guests by asking you to let us understand who is Chuks Ilebunam.
Fine. Chuks Ilebunam is a Nigerian journalist, writer, and publisher who you can say is in semi-retirement. I still write, but I'm no longer in the employ of any media organization. I also used to be in various governments, not as a politician, but as a political appointee. But now I'm in my house and I write as it pleases me, as the occasion demands. That's really all about me.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, General Gowan made some statements which you felt were not correct or which did not represent the whole truth. In your own words, would you like to point out those statements? And I will actually put up, maybe I should do that. I should actually put up that interview or that statement. So, guys, let me do that so we get a background of what we're talking about. So, I hope you guys can see. This is the okay. Let me add it here. No, not this one. Sorry, guys. Let me add this statement from General Gowan, and this was on the Vanguard newspaper. I know you guys can see it now. I'm sharing it. Okay, so this was on the Vanguard newspaper, and it says Chuksile Bunam tells Gowan that only the truth shall make Nigeria free. And it goes to say that, dear General Gowan, you spoke to the Daily Trust on Saturday. The rare interview conducted by Andrew, I will say, marked your 90th birthday anniversary. I'm not going to go through this, but guys, this is what really caught my attention. This response by Chuks Ilebunam. And since we have Chuks Ilebunam himself in the house, I think the best thing would be, sir, to ask you, what was it in General Gowan's statement that caught your attention and which you felt needed to be corrected?
A number of things, actually. He talked about Aburi.
Is it possible to position yourself? So is it possible to position? Yeah, a little bit in the middle. Can you position yourself in the middle? No, it's not
am I
you moving. It's
now?
just your camera. Aha, good.
Is it
Yes.
better now?
Yeah, it's better
right.
now. Yes.
Okay. General Gowan talked about Aburi.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about the conduct of the civil war. He also talked about his governance of Nigeria as military head of state.
Mm-hmm.
I took exception to most of the things he said and therefore responded. I said that in terms of the Aburi meeting between Nigeria's military leaders, they had some agreements. They reached some agreements in Aburi, Ghana. Colonel Ojukwu was on the Eastern Nigerian side because at that time, Biafra had not been declared. And General Gowan was leading the rest of the Nigerian side. The Aburi Accord came in the wake of the coups of 1966, the January 1966 coup, the July 1966 counter coup, and the massacre of Ndibo by the thousands across most of the Nigerian territory. These were the things that led to the Aburi meeting, which was hosted by General Ankara, who was the Ghanaian military head of state at the time. They tried to broker peace. They tried to obviate the contingency of war, and they reached substantial agreements. But when they returned to the country, to Nigeria, General Gowan did not keep to the agreements. And I hold that that was what led to the Nigerian Civil War. So it took me not by surprise, that it set the alarm bells ringing in my head that at age 90, about 50 years after the event, it hasn't occurred to General Yakubu Gowan that he should embrace the truth, because he was the one who reneged on the agreements reached in Aburi. Foremost of those agreements was that the different regions should operate apart, control their disciplined forces so that tensions will cool down. But when they came back, Ojukwu came back to Enugu, Gowan and his people went back to Lagos. They didn't implement the agreements. Now, the meetings held over 2 days in Ghana were recorded. The recordings are still available up till next tomorrow. The transcript of all their decisions, not just the agreements, of every conversation, every input made by any participant at the talk, everything is still recorded and in place up till today. So Gowan comes back, he doesn't implement the Aburi Accord. And Ojukwu's government in Eastern Nigeria set up a slogan, "On Aburi, we stand." That was what really led to Colonel Ojukwu declaring the Republic of Biafra. I think it's dishonest to continue to deny. In fact, not just dishonest, it's shameful to continue to deny what is recorded, what is on tape, what is available for everybody to see, that you were in error and you don't want to accept that. It doesn't make sense to me. And that's not the way to national reconciliation. I thought I should point that out to him. Now, what did he say? In the interview he granted to the newspaper in Kaduna there, he was saying that he came back to Lagos and he was laid low by an attack of fever. That's pedestrian, actually. You were laid low by fever for days. And because of that, you couldn't implement what you willingly, voluntarily appended your signature to. I thought it was wrong. And I think it's further making reconciliation impossible to continue to dwell and perpetrate the lies that are half a century old. That was why I intervened. One of the reasons, anyway. There were other things he said which rankled because they were false. And I believe it is my duty to point out falsehoods, national falsehoods, whenever I see them. If I left Aburi out for the time being, I would say that General Gowan claimed in that interview he granted to the Daily Trust that Nigeria fought the Civil War within the protocols of the Geneva Conventions, which meant that you didn't shoot at the old, the kids, women. You didn't shoot at people who were not in combat. That's what he said that his troops did during the war. But I said, no, I'm not 13 years old. I was in Biafra. I knew that what General Gowan waged against Biafra was a genocidal war. They kept bombing churches. They kept bombing markets. They kept bombing hospitals. They kept boasting that starvation was a legitimate instrument of warfare. So what I did in my response was to point out 11 examples of the aerial bombardment of Biafran targets, non-military targets. And each example I gave, I mentioned the Western newspaper in which it was reported, like the New York Times, the Washington Post, Reuters, Agence France, Press France, the French news agency, and all the rest of them. I included the dates. They kept bombing the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Umwa here. They kept bombing the Our Lady of Lords Hospital in Ihiala. They kept bombing everywhere. They kept boasting that Biafra was a free bombing site. They were using Russian MiGs and Ilyushin bombers
Sorry,
and fighters. Most of those planes were piloted by Egyptians. In fact, if you read Chinua Achebe's book of poetry, Beware Soul Brother, there was one of those poems that described those jets as coming from the evil forest of Soviet technology. He talked about two men across the road. The other one was going for a handshake to his friend on the other side. He could not reach the other side before he was torn to pieces by shrapnel from Nigerian fighter bombers. So you can't have that kind of thing happening, and then you come and glibly say that you were cognizant of the Geneva Conventions when you were fighting the war. That's not what happened. They obliterated everything in their path. They kept bombing and strafing the Igbo country. In fact, the bombing of civilian targets was a daily affair throughout the war. It was condemned. The practice was condemned by the International Committee of the Red Cross. The American government protested. Other human rights organizations protested and said, no, you couldn't keep bombing a people like this. The wounds have not healed today and may never heal if attempt continues to be made to screen what happened with lies and barefaced falsehoods. And that's why I said, I thought if, you see, the life expectancy in Nigeria is about 52 years.
Mm-hmm.
If a man gets to 70 years like myself, we are blessed. But for a man to be up to 90 years who says he's a Christian and he keeps distributing lies, throw lies about like confetti, he deserves to be called to order. And that's what I did. He even went beyond that to claim that he did this and that and all those for the Central Eastern State. That's what they call what is now the 5 Eastern States, Southeast Zone, East Central State. He did everything for us. But I said, no, I was there. You didn't do anything for the Igbo country. There wasn't any Igbo state in which you built a federal secretariat as you had in other places. The Ajokuta steel mill was supposed to be sited in Onitsha. You threw it to Ajokuta. It has gulped billions of dollars. It hasn't produced a sheet of steel.
Sorry. Go ahead, please. Sorry.
So all these things are true. He said he built a petrochemical industry in Enugu. I said, is this the Enugu that I lived in? Or are you talking about another Enugu that exists only in his own imagination? All these things are verifiable. In fact, there was Okpabia Sika, who was his own appointed administrator of the East Central State. Okpabia Sika had the good sense to assemble the engineers and scientists of Biafra's research and production. They produced the prototype of the Nigerian car. They produced this carousel, this thing that carries bags in the airport round and round, traffic lights, all kinds of scientific innovations. The federal authorities killed PRODA, the Project Development Agency, PRODA. Today, they just produce ceramics that you use for drinking caviar and brandy and whiskey, teacups and tumblers and glasses. That's what they do now. A place where you had people like Professor Godfrey Ezekwe of Abagana. These were the people who were making those scientific innovations in Biafra. They were all there. They were dispersed. So you can't come and say you did A, B, C, D for us. And I said you had houses built by Ndibo in Port Harcourt. At that time, you bought a plot of land with 1 shilling. Other people will know what the British shilling is, which will be about 10 kobo, less than 1 naira. A lot of those houses were built with mud. In any case, Port Harcourt, Iguacha, is Igbo country, whether people like it or not. Now, you seized thousands of houses belonging to Ndibo. You ousted the powers of the courts to intervene where people wanted to reclaim houses that belonged to them. A lot of the people who survived the war died because of heartbreak, because they could not recover houses that they owned. When I worked for Newswatch magazine, and one military governor of Lagos State seized the Ojukwu family home on Queen's Drive, Villaska Lodge. I was working for Newswatch magazine then, and my editor, Delegiwa, the one they killed with an anti-personnel bomb, he sent me to Port Harcourt to go and investigate the abandoned properties issue. We wrote a cover story on that. I interviewed during that assignment the former chief judge of River State, Ambrose Alagoa, who said that he had to even use his own money to buy out properties owned by his friends and give back to them. A lot of people never recovered their houses to this day. And then you are talking about Geneva Conventions, and you are talking about the 3 R's of reconstruction, rehabilitation, and reconciliation. What are you talking about reconciliation? I live in Anambra State today. If I want to travel from Onitsha to Enugu, I'll have at least 30 checkpoints by armed, uniformed men and women of the federal government. These have changed from police checkpoints, military checkpoints to choke points at gunpoint. It doesn't happen anywhere outside the Igbo country. That is not how to effect or effectuate reconciliation. That's subjugation. And it is continuing to this day. So if when I was chief of staff to the Anambra State government of Governor Peter Obi, General Gowan came to Oka. The governor wasn't in the state at the time, so I received him. I put him in a hotel. I organized the venue where he carried out his worship session of the Nigeria praise. Now, it struck me at that time. I received him and we chatted, and he was encouraging me. He said he was chief of staff of the Nigerian army at a younger age. As chief of staff, I should do my best. I said, thank you very much. But I said in my mind, this man has organized this prayer group called the Nigeria Praise. He doesn't go to Zamfara State to do his Nigeria Praise. He doesn't go to Borno State to do his Nigeria Praise. He is always in the Igbo country doing Nigeria Praise because that's where you have people to sponsor it. Those people who you seize their homes. Now, everywhere in the world where you have rational beings, the unit of development is the human being. In terms of population, it's not outside the bounds of truth to say that Ndibo are the most populous ethnic group in this country. But we have only 5 states. So we can never make any impact at the National Assembly. If we have 2,000 people vying for secondary school admission, and you don't have enough places, most of them will not go to school. Whereas in the North, they don't have such numbers of people going to school, which is not a fault of ours. If my children want to gain admission into federal high schools, they will give them a cutoff point of 300. If you score less than 300, you won't gain admission. But those people from the far north, their cutoff point is something like 3. That is not how to build national unity. We should stop living a life of let's pretend. That's what is going on here, and it rankles. The reason it hurts so much is that you have someone like General Yakubu Gowan, after all he has seen, at 90 years, pretending that injustice is not writ large in this country. Look at Buhari's administration, nepotistic. Look at what is going on here again now, the same nepotism. So I think that if they want peace, they should go for justice. You can't enforce peace in a state of gross injustice as you have in this country. Look at the Southeast now, geopolitical zone. It's been destabilized. Anybody who wants to be honest to himself will claim and declaim the fact that the Igbo country was destabilized by Abuja. They destabilized Anambra, Imo, Abia, Ebonyi, Enugu. They did. They sent all sorts of people sacking prisons close to police headquarters, close to military admissions, without anybody countering them. They have allowed a state of confusion about IPOB. You went to Kenya, and you seized Mazi Nnamdi Kanu forcefully, and you brought him into Nigeria. Even the courts, your own courts have said, release this man. This man has said, even from behind bars, that he is not behind this idea of sit at home, which is crippling the economy. Why don't you release him? Because he has said he's not behind this. The other guys are saying, no, the man is under captivity. He's saying that under duress. I lived in the UK when they brokered peace between London and the Irish Republican Army. People like President Clinton came in. When Mrs. Thatcher was the prime minister, she censored speech by the IRA. They were not giving free speech. But when Mr. Tony Blair came in there as prime minister, with the aid of President Clinton, they had meetings with the IRA. Today, all those bombings have stopped. They have been in peace after over 15 years of IRA troubles. It's not
So,
even, yes.
yeah, sorry, sorry, I'm cutting you because listening to you, just like when I listen to a lot of my uncles speak, you can see it's like a stream. It's like a quiet stream or a quiet spring emanating from a depth that is filled with pain and anguish, and it just keeps flowing and flowing, and it can keep running and running, and it's it's it even feels like a spring. It's not even the best way to describe it, because instead of water running out of the spring, it's like you are you are watching or you're listening to a spring, but instead of water, you have blood running out of it. Um, a lot of this generation may not relate to what you're talking about. I am I am somebody that is a child of the war. I was born in 1969, and uh, because of my parents' involvement with the war, my mom worked with the Red Cross, and my dad, um, it was supposed to be drafted into the army, but he ended up being a supplier for the army, and then because he narrowly missed being drafted into the cadet force, that's why he named me Cadet, just to remember that incident and the man who kind of saved him from that drafting. So you can imagine that all my lifetime, I have been filled with stories about the war that it's almost like I was there. And I have uncles who told me about, their encounters at different sectors during the war. And just when you started talking, it just filled me with. And sorry, I need to pause and mention this so that people understand why some of these things are passionate to people like me. When you were speaking, I I recalled the stories that I was told about Omaha, because he talked about the bombing of Queen Elizabeth Hospital, which is right now the General Hospital Omaha, right? That's what it is right now. Yeah. And the bombing of General Hospital, which is Queen Elizabeth Hospital, then is so special to me. Especially, I'll show you a picture. I just googled it and I saw this picture. This a picture that I saw, and so this picture just shows. It says 1969, traumatized and terrified patients pictured hiding under hospital beds and tables. This was after the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Umuahia came under attack by the Nigerian government. Sadly, even hospitals were not spared. Now, when I look at, you see this, this almost brings tears to my eyes. This is for the first time in my life I am seeing this picture. But before this time, I've always talked on my program about my Biafran story. So just seeing this picture right now, just it's so surreal. Because my mom told me about how, and I've told this picture countless times, but every time I tell it, it has a special meaning to me. Looking at, hearing you talk about the attack on the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, seeing this picture right now and relating it to my mom telling me that when she was giving birth to me, and she was on the hospital bed, and they were performing a cesarean surgery on her, and the planes came and they were bombing the hospital. How all the doctors left, and because they were bombing the theater, and people were hiding under the table, and she went to my crib and pulled me out, and her tummy was still open because they hadn't stitched her up. She grabbed her tummy and rolled towards my crib, grabbed me out of the crib, put me under the table and lay over me. You know, that story, every time you talk about it, it sounded so unreal. But looking at this picture right now, you see, now it makes sense to me. And so for people who don't understand why it will be painful to see somebody like Gowan, who would want to dismiss a lot of these events and treat it like it didn't happen, it brings the whole thing home. So I understand exactly what you're talking about. Now, going further, you actually started so many questions I would have asked you, because people will ask, how do you want to relate what happened so many years ago? Why are you going to bother to talk about it? Why don't you just, for the sake of reconciliation, let it be? But you already started talking about the impact of those things on the present day Nigeria, and in particular the southeastern zone of our country. So just further, let us understand how this continued misrepresentation of facts is dealing with our motherland, and Alibo to be in particular. How the whole, you just talked about how Abuja is responsible for decimating our land, causing confusion, but let's highlight on that a little bit more.
If you, I was before you intervened, I was talking about the IRA in Britain and how they made peace. They talked to the IRA that they considered to be the vicious enemy, and they got peace. It's not only an American or British thing. Such a thing happened in Nigeria not long ago. When Yar'Adua was the president, there was a lot of instability in the oil producing areas. They were bombing oil installations, and it was hitting the economy. Instead of high-handedness, President Yar'Adua discussed with the militants. They made peace. They offered scholarships to a lot of them. They rehabilitated them. And there's peace now, at least relative peace now in that place. So why is it so difficult to discuss the major cause of instability in the Igbo country now? You have all kinds of people. Some are in Finland, some are in Norway, some are just on the social media. They'll tell you, don't go out on Monday. Don't go out on Tuesday. Sometimes they will tell you not to go out for a whole week or 2 weeks. Otherwise, you will be killed. There was this friend of mine, primary school friend of mine, who lives in the US, and he said he supports what's going on. I said, you support what is going on because you are thoughtless. And he started sending me materials about the bus boycotts during Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, and all the rest. But I said, don't teach me contemporary American history. When those blacks were boycotting buses, they were boycotting buses owned by whites. You can't keep killing Ndibo here and say you are protesting against Abuja. Abuja that doesn't care if you are wiped out. In fact, Buhari described the whole country as a dot in a circle. He doesn't care. They don't care what happens to you. So why are you killing us yourselves here? Now, there was a principal who said he wasn't going to listen to them, that he was going to organize the WAEC examinations. He did. The students went to the exam halls, wrote the exams, and went to him. At night, they went to the man's house and shot him dead. Now, if you say you have sit at home on a Monday, your enemy who you have a good SUV who is jealous, he will carry his gun and wait for you. You come out, they'll shoot you dead and say it's because of sit at home. So, and you know, in the society now, the light arms, all over the place, all kinds of criminals, you know, creating this.
Hello. Because you had a call coming in, I know it has disturbed your audio, so maybe you need to.
Sorry,
Okay.
for the. Are you hearing me? Sorry
Yeah,
for the
yeah, I'm hearing
interruption.
you. I'm hearing you. Go ahead. Go
Somebody
ahead.
called me. I just told it.
By the way, hold on a second. Hold on a second. I have someone joining us from Canada. Ken Azubike is a security professional. Azubike, it's good to have you in the studio.
Thank you very much, Ed. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. So I will let you.
I'll ask that you, if there's a way to raise the volume, since that interrupting phone
No, no,
call,
no.
your
You
voice
need
has
to
gone down
log
the
out.
too.
Log out. That's what I was going to tell you. You have to log out and log back in. Just go off and
No, I'm
come back.
hearing you. It's just that your voice is
No,
low.
no, no. It has. I know it has destabilized your system. That's why you're not hearing.
Okay, so
Go out.
should I press leave?
Yes, and then come back. So while we're waiting for him to come back, Ekens Zubike, good to have you here. Please introduce yourself to our viewers.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I've been listening to your guests. As you know, my name is Ekens Azubike. So the reason why I picked interest on the topic is because of the general situation that have to do with the subjects. So I would like to, have some inputs while your guest is still okay, listening.
Yeah. But for the benefit of those who don't know you, give us a general background so we understand who you are. Because then when you start making contributions, people will know why you're able to come from the angle you're coming.
Yeah, in terms of general background of my general background depends on the discussion,
Yes.
So generally, the combination of my academic background have to do with security and intelligence outside my foundation. So I guess introducing myself in broad direction is going to complicate what we are. So I would like to be within the circle of the discussion.
Sure.
In terms of issue of Aburi Accord and my observation based on what your guest was saying.
Okay, I have my guest come back. I will let you intervene, but let's give our guest the opportunity to continue. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Chooks, Chief Chooks. Yes.
Yes, do I even remember what was I talking about? Reconciliation, isn't it?
Yes, we're talking
Well,
about reconciliation and what happened in, but we're just trying to see how the continued misrepresentation of facts is affecting our land even to this day.
okay, yes. Listen, let me tell you something. If you understand Nigeria very well, it will become obvious to you that the Igbo man has no quarrel with the Yoruba man. The Yoruba man has no quarrel with the Hausa man. I'm talking at the base level, the ordinary citizens.
Sure.
It's the so-called political leaders that are creating this confusion. Didn't you hear during the last presidential election, they were saying that Igbo should leave Lagos? Because as Georgi Plekhanov said, that Soviet Marxist theoretician, the dominant ideology in any society is that of the ruling classes. They copy, when the stream is polluted at source, the pollution goes through the entire course of the stream. When you have visionless leadership, the people suffer. And that is what is going on today. It is possible to unite this country. President Yar'Adua made peace in the Niger Delta. It's recent history because he was open-minded. Now, in the past 1 year, everybody has said, release Nnamdi Kanu, because to start with, you forcefully brought him into this country. Even your own courts have said, release him. A lot of people who have similar charges like himself have been released. It's not that he's not being released, it's that they are not even saying a single word about all these requests. And a lot of people who, I have never met Nnamdi Kanu. I am not a member of IPOB, but I want peace in the Igbo country and I want peace in the whole of Nigeria. People are just wasting here. Nigerians are just dying. You can't afford to be sick here. Half of the drugs are fake anyway. The ones that you want to buy, the prices have rocketed. The jobless total has gone beyond computation. People are living in hell. And then you have instability on top of that. Why should that continue to be? So in this kind of situation, you now find a 90-year-old man compounding our crisis points with lies and fallacies and mendacity. And I say, that's beyond toleration. It's not fair. What's everybody afraid of? My father lived for 62 years. I'm 73 years. When I go to bed, I sleep. People must speak the truth. People must save the country. And the only way to save the country is through justice and fair play. Fair play. Treat citizen A the way you treat citizen Z. It is not difficult. Do not have second class, third class, fourth class, 10th class citizens in one country. That is not the way to move forward. That's the point I've been making. Not just on this forum, but elsewhere. In my journalism over decades.
All right. Ken Sazubike, go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, and I greet Mr. Chuk. So I've been listening to what he was saying, but even though probably because of the third generation, or I don't know, but I disagree on some certain things he said. But I'm going to narrow down on issue of Aburi Accords, because the same mistake as an counterintelligence and security expert, I believe that we are still making the same mistake as Igbo people. If you listen to Ojukwu, the interview before when he returned back regard to this Aburi Accord, Ojukwu said that that agreement was drafted by his secretary. And had Ojukwu gone to that Aburi Accord with some intelligent Igbo officers, they would have observed the body language of Gowan to show that Gowan is not sincere to himself to that accord. But Ojukwu himself was naive. He even said it. I'm not quoting, you can check the interview. You can see Ojukwu body language. You can see that he was overwhelmed. He was over happy, and the same problem is happening today between Igbo and other tribes. If you want to make the world a better place, you have to treat everybody as a suspect. Ojukwu wouldn't have gone to that Aburi Accord with naive mind or over trust, because Gowan himself was giving a counter statement that it wasn't Ojukwu who's supposed to pronounce the agreement upon their return. So I encourage that, whatever we do, if you want to build a house, you hire an architect. If you want to roof your house, you hire somebody who knows a carpentry work very well. Even though you are an architect, you draw building very well. So it's the same problem, the same mistake Igbo people still making today. So Gowan may be an intelligent officer and acting on advice of his own people that surrounded him. So I wasn't born then, so I don't know the level of intimidation that may be going on then, and the level of officers, Igbo Biafran officers, who may not express their feeling because Ojukwu is their boss. The same thing that may be happening today. So in terms of that, we really need to go back to the drawing board and see what went wrong, other than blaming anybody. Ojukwu have done his best, and I have studied those interviews. I have gone through so many articles, and I have seen a lot of vacuums and loopholes that may warranted those incidents. So Gowan is still alive today. Mr. Chooks, Chief Chooks, you are a journalist. You can put forward the same question to Ojukwu.
You need to go on.
Gowan. You can put up some certain things. We need to be strategic. But the problem we have as Igbo people is we believe sometimes in our pocket, in our business. And I find out in Igbo land that a problem an Igbo man solved with 100 million, other tribe may solve the same problem with 50 naira pen. This is what we need to pay attention on. The other tribes are not better than us, but we should, go back to drawing boards. We have so many intelligent people, but we need to use a right person. It takes a criminal to catch a criminal. So if Ojukwu can say by himself that he was naive, I mean, if you want, I can send you can Google it, I can send you the tape. Then Gowan is still alive. And when Gowan is talking, you can see the level of intelligence that what he's saying is not what is in his mind. But in Ojukwu face, if you narrow down behavioral analysts or in terms of character analysis on Ojukwu, you can see that the way he talks, if he tell you good morning, that good morning is what he have inside his heart. You can read it. Not
so
like
again, sorry I'm interrupting you. I would like to get that video. If you can send me the link, I'll appreciate it. But what I'm trying to get is not that you are, because I'm trying to make sense out of your input. Our guest here has talked about Gowan not being sincere. It looks to me like you are concurring with what he said, that Gowan was not being sincere, but your contribution is that, the way forward, that we should do what? We should get...
in terms of sincerity, I haven't met Gowan, but I'm talking about my analysis, intelligent analysis.
No, but go on. You don't have to meet him. Where even Chooks was responding to what he said. He said something in an interview. So it's not about meeting him face to face. But even Chooks has met him face to face, has interacted with him, and it's not even judging him based on his personality, but just trying to say that what he said, because you have to hold people by what they said.
But that's why I
You
want to know that particular thing he said.
Oh
Because
no, I don't think maybe you didn't join. I don't want to pull us back because we started somewhere. But you can go and look at Vanguard newspaper. Let me show it again. So when you have studied that Vanguard newspaper, you'll be able to understand what uh, what um, Gowan said. I just put it up here. It's Vanguard newspaper of 26th of October 2024. So if you read that Vanguard newspaper, you'll be able to see what Gowan said and what Chief Chooks was responding to. Otherwise, it will be, as they say in Igbo, somebody coming to where they buried someone, and then you start to
yes, I agree with you. But if I read
attend
it,
to
the
the
man who challenged the statement is here, and he can, because we other people are trying to understand what. Because if I
No,
read,
I'm just saying you joined late. That's what he's been dealing with. But again, so that we don't. This is a few minutes program. You would have to go back and read what he said. But one thing you said, which I want us to move forward on, and going back to our guest here, is you talked about uh, like going and looking back at what brought us here as a people and how to move forward. Like, how do we move ourselves out of the situation we find ourselves? That's what I'm more interested in. And even though our guest had already started talking about how to do a proper reconciliation, because I'm listening to him attentively, he has said you cannot have peace without justice and fairness, and that's why he made relevance.
I agree with that. That's why I mentioned about third generation and first generation. But
yeah, so let us focus on how what do we do right now.
yeah,
We talked about we saw the issue of Simon Ekpa, and everybody seemed to overwhelmingly agree that, and people were getting me confused when I was also advocating for his arrest. He needed to be put on the leash, but that didn't mean that those things that he was talking about don't exist. Like, and I hope people who support Simon Ekpa could listen to what Chief Chooks is saying, listen to what Ekens is saying. We all agree that those the roadblocks, the kidnappings, the killing, the invasion of our places by Fulani herdsmen and Nigerian army, it is going on. But you cannot be inside your own homeland and destroy your homeland and be saying that you're saving. How can you be killing the people you say you're saving?
I agree with you, but
It made nonsense.
I'm seeing things in a different perspective. That's what I'm saying, that we need to go back to
But let me go back to before we come back to you. Chief Trooks, do you want to
Yes.
respond to anything that
Dr. Eken Sazubike, he talked about Ndibo, the need for Ndibo to be strategic in their engagements with the rest of the country. But with the most profound respect, I would say that I found very little strategy in his intervention on the Aburi Accord. I said, and the world knows, that military officers and gentlemen met over 2 days, arrived at specific decisions, appended their signatures to those decisions, and came back for only one person to throw overboard all that was decided, and that was what led to the Tennessee War that the country fought. He has not said that Gowan didn't renege on the agreements. Instead, he's blaming Ojukwu, who is dead. I said that Ojukwu said that he was naive. I'm talking about now, both of us are speaking now. It is being recorded the way Aburi Accord was recorded. And I said, not just the accord is the document of agreement. Everything everybody said during those 2 days is on tape up till next tomorrow. And that somebody turned it overboard. Instead of you to address that situation, which caused all the chaos we are having now, you are citing where you read that Ojukwu said he was naive. I find that's not the kind of way I was taught by my parents and by the schools I attended to reason. This is the kind of thing that really infuriates me. I'm saying that Gowan caused our problems. You remove him from all blame. You are blaming Ojukwu. Was it Biafra that attacked Nigeria?
Okay.
He said he should have gone with a parliament to Abuja to go and to Aburi to go and negotiate. Is that what the whole thing is about?
Yes, with all due respect.
By the time they went to Aburi, Ghana, most Igbo people in the whole of the country were back in the east, or were in jail in Nigeria, or dead. There have been so much bloodbath. Tens of thousands of people have been killed. We were already blockaded, and Ojukwu goes there and meets with his former colleagues that he went to military academies with, and they arrive at an agreement, and they come back to Lagos, to Nigeria, and Lagos discards the agreements, and 50 years later, you are telling me to go and blame Ojukwu. That's why I'm saying that I find very little strategy in what this gentleman is saying, and I may not abide it.
That is why
that's not the way to go ahead. That's not my kind of scholarship, my dear people.
With all due respect, this is why we're still having problem today, that nobody can question what our elders or what our leaders are doing. This is where we have a problem. Now, the issue
that is not the problem we have. You are creating the problems you are talking about. If you come into the conduct of the war, I will agree with people like General Madiebo, who said that although he supported the declaration of Biafra, he thought the timing was wrong. That militarily speaking, Biafra was not ready to engage in that war and win it. If you are saying something like that, it will make sense to me.
That is
but we're talking about listen. It's just like you have a constitution. You have the INEC that runs elections in this country. They did the presidential election last year. It was blatantly rigged, even up to the judiciary. Any sensible, truthful, honest person knows it. Then when the question is raised, you say we should go and blame Peter Obi that he was naive in believing that the proper election will be held. Is that why I'm sitting here now?
Okay, sir. I
would rather not be party to this kind of.
No, sir.
I don't operate like that.
No. Let me intervene. Kens, hold on.
The tossing away of Aburi Accord led directly to the civil war, in which millions of people died. And you're telling me you didn't even hold it against Gowan. You're telling me to go and blame Ojukwu.
I'm still
what kind of thing is that?
You see, this is why we have issue in Igbo land that
we don't have any issue. The issue we have is what people are talking out of point. The issue we have in Igbo land is that some people are on high horses and talking out of point.
Under the international law or international relation, okay, the agreement could be, I'm not supporting anywhere, but we have to be strategic up to international level so we don't become a local champion because we want to intimidate to whom people that are under us. This is what I'm telling you. Had somebody
Who did we intimidate?
had
Who
somebody
did we
stood up then
intimidate?
and question what happened,
Who did we
instead
intimidate?
of had somebody stood up at then, question what is going on, maybe somebody
When stood up when against.
during the time all this incident was going on.
Okay, can I tell you something? I want to let me direct this discussion here so that maybe I need to let us understand what is going on here. Our guest, Chuks Elebunam, has told us here what he knows, has confronted facts with facts. You came up and you have expressed opinions and you have based it on what you have said you don't even know. It's so many things you say there, you say you don't know. Now, opinions are very subjective and you are entitled to your own opinion. But what we may not begin to bring into the discussion, so it doesn't affect what we're doing, is we cannot allow those opinions, because even like when I was telling you, you didn't even know the basis.
Let me tell Dr. Chidi, let me say something. You know, with due respect, Dr. Azubike would have been making better sense if he had read Gowan's interview and if he had read my response to the interview.
That's exactly what I was saying. That's exactly what I was saying.
So based on that, is telling us to strategize.
Mr. Chuks was not a part of Aburi Accord attendee.
No.
So
But against, no. I totally. Do you know what you're trying to say now? What you're trying to say is that
the only person who was the secretary and the Ojukwu.
Come on now.
So
okay.
The way he
but
read,
the records are there. I have read the record.
No, I'm going to moderate.
I have read the record.
This is my show. Against, I'm going to bring you up to have this interaction as my guest, and I'll give you, and I'll be able to take. Hold on, Against.
I have not expressed what I was
saying. Against. You know, I'm the.
Yeah, but if you invite somebody as a guest,
I'm going to have to drop you from the stage. Okay, you see the problem now. You see, against, you're going to be watching here, but nobody can hear you again because you forget that this is my program. You. That's the problem. I respect you, but you are on my show. You see, you are on my show, and if I say, let me do it, and you say no, then I'll, because that's probably what you do on my show. So please respect that you're on my show. This is not why I had the show today. It's not for people to begin to argue about what happened. I am bringing someone who is bold and confident enough to challenge an issue. That's what he is doing. So, Kens, I'm going to, like I promised you, I'm going to finish this interaction with my guest, and then that's what it was because he's
you've been one-sided because
no, I'm not being one-sided. It's fine. Kens, you're talking again when I'm talking. It doesn't work that way. I see I've dropped you again. That's how it works. So let us continue with Chuks Elebunam. This is really how it works. It's my platform. I invite you and I tell you the rules of the game. It's not by compulsion. It's either you want to abide by it, or I won't allow you to derail what I said. It took me a long time to set this up, so I need to be in charge. So Chuks, I'm going to play a video here. I want to play a video here. I hope it plays. This will help some of us, and it's not everything I want to play in it, but let's listen a little bit, and this might help us understand one or two things. So this was Ojukwu and Gowan explaining what really transpired.
Available. The records are there. In fact, only about 2 weeks ago, I saw a set of the records again. The transcripts are available. But we talked about the Nigerian situation. And certainly, at the end, everybody says, oh, you told them this, you did that. The fact was that our case was so clear that I actually believed at the end of Aburi that the problem was not Gowan, but probably some ambassadors in Lagos who were pressing for something else. Because we understood each other. We agreed on every single point. The drafting was, in fact, my chief secretary with two other chief secretaries from the other side. They said, no. And drafted and agreed. We looked at it, we agreed.
You see why it's important that we listen to this? Because sometimes we can misrepresent things. It doesn't, Ojukwu didn't have to use the pen and draft it by himself. He had his secretary and he had Gowan's secretary, and they, you know, that's what any chief executive would do. And listen where he said they looked at it. So this thing of, it sounds like mischief to me if somebody just says, oh, it was not drafted by Ojukwu, it was even drafted by his secretary. That's why, like Chief Chooks has said, I mean, come on, facts, the records we are so privileged to have these digital things. The records are there. We're hearing the person who was involved. We didn't have to be there. So let's continue.
General Lankra read over the whole report again to us at the end. Asked us if we wanted to amend anything. No. At the end of all that, the position was so good that actually Handcraft drove Jack, Gowan, and myself to the airport. Jack was sitting on his left, I was sitting on his right. He was in the middle. And in the course of that journey, at a point, General Lankra shook his head and said, oh, thank you. Thank you. If only we can go on like this, everything would be all right. I believe I was the one, as I do now from time to time, I go for the dramatic. Suddenly I picked up Gowan's hand, put it on Ankra's lap, brought my other hand, placed it on it, and I said, General, sir, hold us together, I want to say something. So General Ankra put his hand on top of the two hands, and I said, General, I want to assure you that I am totally satisfied with everything we said. I will even go further and say to you something I did not say at the conference, and that is that once we have implemented everything we have said, I would ask you for one favor and one favor only. And that would be to be the one to propose Jack Gowan as a head of state of Nigeria.
It was a 2-day conference of peers and old mates, but its aftermath produced even further controversy.
When we came back, and Ojukwu did not go to make the statement he made first, virtually giving the impression that we've agreed for a confederation to move apart, etc., which was really not in exactly that. If I had had the opportunity to make my broadcast in the first, because that was the agreement, not for him to make the broadcast first, then if I had committed myself to what he said, then there wouldn't have been any problem. But he went and said certain things that certainly looked wrong, and therefore we saw in practically everything he did. I think it was for to play up to the gallery not being sincere.
At Aburi, yes, we agreed on area commands for the armed forces. At Aburi, we agreed that the police force will be decentralized. We agreed on those. Yes, we agreed. Even to show that we didn't separate, at Aburi, we also agreed on a certain revenue formula. That's what happened at Aburi. Aburi again, because I always end up, this sounds odd today, but I always end up by saying I must have been naive, because I believed actually that would be the end. I'll confess to you, when I got back to Enugu, oh yes, I had a party. Believe it.
So the reason why I wanted to play this tape was because I knew that this is where our friend Ekens got some of the things he was saying. You can represent people out of context. It's just like when I did a video where I said, when I called the Nigerian government, oh, I felt stupid that I should be the one calling. Someone cut it and said, oh, Chidi said he's stupid for calling the British. What Ojukwu is saying is someone just tells you that, I must have been naive to actually believe that. It doesn't mean it was stupid. It's actually not fair to begin to open up with the way Ken's open. But let's keep that aside. I'm glad. I just wanted to play that clip, and for the benefit of a lot of us who never had a chance of seeing that clip, who did not know what that clip was all about. That's why I played that clip. Now we're going to move forward and just address what we think is the way forward. Maybe we can now talk about Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's incarceration. I mean, this government just knows that keeping him there is not helping. But it looks like they're not even interested in that. This government knows that the insecurity in our place is destabilizing everything. They really don't care. Like, it looks like they are really happy that everything is going on there. Like, just so that you leave the Southeast, which has been the most peaceful place all the time that terrorism was going on everywhere else. It looks like it's a deliberate attempt to just allow the whole place to implode on itself. Go ahead, Chooks.
I think that it is often said that out of every evil is to be found the very germ of its destruction. Things are dire in the Igbo country today, but that doesn't mean that things will remain this bad. I'm hopeful that someday soon, reason will prevail. It is possible to judge. Listen to alternative opinion. Choose what suits you. Let the other party choose. And then you will have a consensus. There are many places in the world where you have had all kinds of difficulties, warfare and everything. At the end of the day, they made peace. In Czechoslovakia, they sat around the table and decided to part company without even one abusive word. But look at what happened in Yugoslavia. Look at what happened in Sudan. Bloodletting all over the place. And look at how the country, Nigeria has been. Nigeria is today 400 times more divided than it was immediately after the Civil War. During the Second Republic, there were 5 political parties For the presidential election of the Second Republic, one of the presidential candidates was Igbo, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe. The other 4 political parties had Igbo vice presidential candidates. Today, the Igbo cannot contest elections anywhere. They are prevented from. They are rigged out. And I'm saying that if you say you want national peace, that can't go on. I'm not waging war against anybody. I don't personally believe in violence. I preach peace, but I know that peace can only be indexed on justice. This is why I must be frank with you. I take exception to what Eken Sazuike said. I will welcome an opportunity to have a verbal just with him. We can argue it out, even if for 4 hours, so that I will put him in his place. You cannot come, and we're talking about Aburi Accord, and you're telling me that Ojukwu was naive. Ojukwu was not strategic. How can you say that there's strategy in what you are saying? I cannot believe that I had this evening, but he's no longer here, so I can't be talking to somebody who has no chance to respond. But my basic argument is that we can have peace in this country. It is not difficult, but the parties concerned must wish for peace to reign. Once they wish for peace to reign, it will reign. And as I have told you, the ethnic groups, the various, they don't, person to person, don't really have animosities against each other. It's the people in this political superstructure that are causing all the confusion. And that's what I said has got to stop. Because it is not fair on the people. The suffering in this country today has gone ballistic. You go to church, you are coming out, a woman comes to greet you. He's saying, please give me money so that I can feed my family when we get home. You get home from church, 2 people are waiting for you. Please give us money. My child is sick. Everywhere you go, every 2 millimeters, you have policemen armed stopping vehicles. I've never seen in the last 2 years any policeman opening the boot or the bonnet of a car at a checkpoint. They are there taking money from people. And this is it only in the Igbo country. You can drive from Jos to Kanu, from Jos to Maiduguri, from Lagos to Ilorin. You will see these checkpoints. But you can't go from Oka to Onitsha, 30 miles, without seeing 30 police checkpoints. And it is increasing. They are going to the rural roads. They are doing these things because they are armed. You have inducted them into armed robbery. When you say they are out of uniform, they are out of the police force and all the rest of it, they know that once they acquire their guns, and guns are all over the place, they will still be doing the same kind of armed robbery. How can we continue to allow this insecurity to fester? Before you go out of your house now, you pray. Even if you are drunk, by the time before it is 7 p.m., you are home. And when you are home, you are wondering whether people will not come to your house and wipe you away. The police is not working. They are all on the checkpoints. There's no investigation going on. If you go to report a case to them, they'll tell you to put money down before they start, and they will not do anything. The country has gone haywire. And I'm saying it is in our best interest to pull it back from the brink. I think that's the hallmark of patriotism. I don't say anybody should kill anybody. I don't say this state should not be, this geopolitical zone should not be. I said, I want to quote Chief Abiola. He said, in this country, Nigeria, there is enough for everybody's need, but there isn't enough for everybody's greed. It is true. There is nothing so convoluted, so complex about Nigeria's difficulties that they cannot be solved when you have the will. Because it is said that where there's a will, there's a way.
So, what, Chief Chooks, where do we start? You see, I know of a truth that Igbos are in a dire situation. Since after the war, couple
Yes.
of years ago, we seem to start to, you know, get our acts together. And I started seeing something like there was Igbo, there's Ohaneze Ndigbo, there's so many other people started to, create think tanks all over the place. And then things kept going on. There was a Wazirike pursuing the Biafra agenda. And there was a certain level of consciousness, and then up to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. That, for me, became the climax then. And then, but as we stand right now, it is obvious that Ohaneze Ndigbo, I don't know what has become of them, leading to Iwanyanwu's leadership. They were already being shaky. Iwanyanwu's leadership was not as, in my thinking, due respects to him, God bless his soul. But right now, I don't even know where to place Ohaneze Ndigbo. Igbo people do not have a spokesperson. With Mazi Nnamdi Kanu being in incarceration, and Igbos seemingly not able to wield any power to pressure the government. In fact, right now, the government seems to be sitting so comfortably. They're not even moved by anything when it has to do with the release of Nnamdi Kanu. What are we to do? People who have risen up to be the people speaking for Igbos, we can't even pick on anybody now. Some people seem to be after their own personal agendas. So how do we begin to organize Igbo people to be able to take back what belongs to us? And I'm going to bring back our friend Ekens Azubike, because I want us to move forward. But I need you to be, because you're closer to what is happening. Me in the diaspora, us in the diaspora, yes, we are monitoring things, but who is directing what's happening in Igbo land right now? How do we move from here?
Anyway, let me just come in. You see, when I talked about creating peace, not just in the Igbo country, but in the whole of Nigeria, I never assumed for 1 millisecond that it will be easy. It's not easy. It's a difficult task. But as our people say, if you don't know where the rain started to wallop you, you won't have an idea of where you dry their body. Another point I want to make is that failure is an orphan. We're still paying the indemnity of the loss of Biafra. It's a very tragic thing that happened. And you can't gloss it over. Now, a lot of the guys you see in the Southeast geopolitical zone who are governors, we are not elected by the people. You understand? They were not elected by the people.
Yeah.
There is no Igbo man who will go to Zamfara state and say, we want to impose you as governor of your state, or go to Sokoto state, say, we want to impose you as governor of Sokoto state. But a lot of the characters you see in the Southeast who are going about claiming to be governors, we are foisted on the people. So that is why they don't owe us anything. None of them would like to speak about Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. None of them has condemned these police choke points all over the city. When they pass, they use their sirens and they will fly past. The other people will be there for hours in the hot sun. None of them talks about that. None of them engages. In fact, it's difficult to hear that the Southeast governors have a forum or that they meet. So why do we expect to have Igbo spokesmen from such characters? That's the first point you want to talk about. Now, if you talk about Ohaneze Ndigbo, I knew when Ohaneze Ndigbo was run by people like Professor Ben Nwabweze, people like Chief Ralph Wechwe, and all the rest of them. At that time, in those times, Ohaneze had one voice. Do you know that today there are all kinds of chairmen of Ohaneze Ndigbo, secretaries issuing contradictory statements and releases? Even when some of them have been wanted, you were never elected by anybody. Sit in your house and keep bloody quiet. Or if you want to speak, speak in your own behalf, not on behalf of Ohaneze Ndigbo, but they will not listen to that. Now, Ohaneze is due to have a new election for new leadership. If they are lucky to elect someone who has gray matter in his brain, who is patriotic, who believes in humanity, then Ohaneze will rise again. If a leadership of Ohaneze emerges from contested elections, then it will not regain credibility. The confusion will continue. That's the way I look at it. So, if you remember that there was somebody called Dr. Michael Opara, if you had somebody of that hue today running an Igbo state, things would be different. The man lived his life, he set up all those industries, both in the Igbo country and non-Igbo aspects of Eastern Nigeria, without discrimination. By the time he died, he didn't even have a personal house of his own. And he was fearless. He was always speaking for the people that put him in power. If you are made governor by the Supreme Court, in Nigeria, in the Igbo country, they call it Supreme Excellency. Your allegiance is not to the people you purport to be governing, because they didn't put you there. That is why herdsmen will come here, come to an Igbo state, massacre people, and the governor of the state in question will not say anything. Because if he wants to say something, those who put him there will say, what you want to say is not in alignment with the terms of your imposition on your people. Keep bloody quiet. So the problems we have are encompassing. I can't even hear you. Sorry. What's happening?
Sorry. So where do we begin to reconvene? How do we begin to organize?
That's what I'm saying. I was leading that we have to build hope. We have to build confidence. We have to have people who love Ndibo and who love peace, national peace, to take important and critical positions. We have to try our best to see that only those who win elections are allowed to govern us. If you continue to have crooks who are foisted on the people as governors, we are not going anywhere. No one's going to speak for you. So the Igbo people are just like orphans today.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like that when Ojukwu was head of state. It wasn't like that when Dr. Aburi was premier. It wasn't like that when Dr. Azikiwe was premier. You see what I mean? It wasn't like that in the old Imo State when Dr. Sam Mbakwe was governor. See? So it's not as if we've not had good forthright leaders. It is just that nowadays we have puppets being commanded, by puppeteers from outside, destroying the society. There's no cohesion anyway.
All right.
So you have to destroy these filters of change gradually. There has to be you have to build consensus of opinion. People who have things to offer must offer themselves to serve the people, and we have to find a way to contain rigging, which is difficult. We're just, to be honest with you, we are in a bind. But I have hope, because if there's life, there has to be hope. Once you lose hope, then there's no more reason for continued existence. That is what we must continue to have hope, because we are talking of elections today. People are going, they queue in the sun, in the rain, a day passes, people sit somewhere, they write the elections, and they announce it. Once it is announced, they tell you to go to court. And when you go to court, the court will do what they know how to do best, provide the cause of justice, and the rot continues.
All right.
Nigeria's case is almost a basket case.
Let me
But we
go
have
to
to have hope.
yeah. Let me go to Ekens. Ekens, one thing everybody, I hope you see it that way too. But one what I see in the horizon, and from my interaction with most Igbo people or Biafrans even, and which our guest is confirming now, is that the Igbo nation is in dire straits now. We are we are like a chicken without head. We don't have direction. I don't know if you agree with that, and if you do, what is the solution? Where do we? As they say in Igbo, where do we start?
Anyway, thank you for bringing me back, and I was still around watching the video, your program, and I'm glad that you later played that video. It's not like I'm lying against someone. Everybody have their own different view, but I'm going to tell you here. Hello.
Yeah, you're on. Go ahead. I just focused it
I'm
on
going to tell
you.
you that Igbo problem and the strategy how to solve it cannot be discussed in media. I don't know if you're listening to me. Hello. I'm not hearing you. I'm not hearing
Anytime
you.
I focus it on you, is because
Okay.
I want people to hear you and hear what you're saying. Don't worry,
Okay.
everybody's still
Thank you very
seeing
much
you.
for that. So the point here is that Igbo problem and the way forward and how to solve it cannot be discussed on public media. That is one thing. Two, Ohaneze Ndi Igbo he's talking about should not be putting hand in a politics, should not be a political group or influence. All the governors should have a provision for funding of Ohaneze Ndi Igbo, irrespective of whoever win the election, and refrain from intervention or influencing anybody that is become a leader of Ohaneze Ndi Igbo. In that aspect, there are so many issues, but it's not something we're gonna throw on the public. And during the election, we should understand that Ohaneze is an organization to help within ourselves. It's not a political organization that where you see your brother as an opponent, as PDP or APC, okay, or governor of Imo State supporting somebody from Omahia, the other one from Omahia supporting. We shouldn't see it in that way. Ohaneze and Igbo restructure their own agreement or their constitution or memorandum to be adopted by everybody, so that whenever the election is coming, everybody should bind by the rule, irrespective of how influenced anybody is. I'm not because I'm not their legal advisor. We are just making inputs. And when it comes to what he was saying, as I said, the information, there is something called classified and declassified information. Declassified information is information that was sealed and later made public because it's no more secret. And most of Ndi Igbo, including Igbo leaders, are acting based on declassified information. And at that moment, that information is already late. You understand my point? Now, we should be able to source what is this declassified information that is not yet to the public domain, so we can be ahead of time. In terms of security, I'm not anybody's security advisor. They know what to do. But insecurity is a big business in Nigeria. If some governors does not allow insecurity in their state, they will not get a big security vote from the federal. I'm not going to go into, I'm not discussing in terms of being sympathized with anybody. I'm a security expert. And I'm talking about international level. We shouldn't dream to be a local champion. Why Constitution is being amended is because the Constitution that was made in 1820 may not be suitable to 21st century. We need to be ahead of time, okay? And there are so many things. Igbos need to unite within themselves and make peace with themselves before we talk about outsiders.
Maybe at this point, let me guide us. You see, you have just Chief Chooks. I heard what you said. Dr. Kens, I heard what you said. But you see, I'm still in a dilemma. What I want to know, and I agree with you, it's not everything that you come and say in public. Some things you say at meeting Omonna, we all know that very well. But then we have become a micro village now. Those times in the Omonna meeting, you're able to gather people together. There is no video, there's no recording of anything. Whatever you could discuss in that Omonna meeting, because everybody is present except they are sick, whatever you discuss is kept in that place. With the way things are right now, people are scattered. It's not easy to bring people together anymore like that. So we should be able to begin to profile some solutions, albeit, preliminaries that will now lead to those other concrete meetings. At least so, but right now as it is, I don't even know what are the first steps we should take.
But that need to be
honestly, it is that first step that I'm looking for.
That first step, we are in that first step need to begin with us, within us, just from beginning. Because if we don't put
how through what medium? I'm coming back to you, Ekens, but Chief Chooks, what is the most? Which one is the low hanging fruit right now? Because Ohaneze, is it to wait for Ohaneze to finish their meeting? But the way Ohaneze is going right now, I'm not doom whatever. But the way Ohaneze is going, they don't. People say when you throw the first step, we can tell how the dance is going, how your dance is going to end up. The way Ohaneze is going, it doesn't even look like what they will end up with will be something that will lead us anywhere. But like you said, Chief Chooks, you're an optimist. But I'm saying, what is that first step we should do? Because I want what so that we can start it.
I will answer you. The way I understand it, a new executive council of the organization will be elected in January of 2025.
Okay.
So the first step, I mentioned it previously, is to have a leadership that emerges from elections that are free, fair, transparent, and credible.
Within
So that,
Ohaneze.
yes. So
Okay.
that they will have the mandate of the people and their views will be respected. If that fails, then there'll be no hope for the tenure of that executive if they are seen to have emerged through a faulty process. Now, you can have a properly conducted election that throws up a buffoon as the president. It happens, or a turncoat. So when you are praying for proper elections, you are praying for somebody like the late Professor Ben Wabeze to emerge as the President General of Ohaneze Ndigbo.
But sir, how do you make sure that that process, Chooks, maybe I mean yes, Kens, maybe you should chip in here. How do you guarantee that electoral process in choosing those people, sir? How do you guarantee?
I want to ask you one question. What power does Ohaneze possess? Is Ohaneze a cultural organization, or because we need to define things here? Because if the Ohaneze is a cultural organization, okay, then not everybody will agree with them. We have to see what power does they possess and what is the limit they can go.
I would like Chief Chooks to answer this. Chief Chooks, what kind of power do you think Ohaneze?
The Ohaneze Ndigbo is a political organization. It is a cultural organization. It's a social organization. It is a political organization, but it is not a partisan body. It is not a political party. If you have the Arewa Consultative Assembly in the north, you have Afenifere in the west, those who claim to be socio-political organizations, but they are also political organizations. I'll give an example. If you have a properly elected leadership of Ohaneze Ndigbo that is patriotic, they will be campaigning for the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. That's political. Now, they will be campaigning if, for instance, I think it's next year, beginning of at the end of next year, there will be new elections for governorship gubernatorial in Anambra State. Ohaneze Ndigbo will be campaigning for free and fair gubernatorial ballot in Anambra State. That's political. Okay. But they will not be saying vote for Labour, vote for PDP, vote for APC, but they will be saying, let us have orderly elections. Let us have elections devoid of violence.
You see, you and the Kens seem to agree on this. But Kens, you can see the kind of when you were saying they shouldn't be political, it's exactly what Chief Chooks is saying. But my problem is what can the Igbo people do? How can we prevail on Ohaneze Ndị Igbo to be able to conduct a credible election? And even how do we do? Because like you said, yeah, okay.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Look, Organ Ohaneze can never be fair and credible when they are being funded by politicians.
But you have just said, okay, Kens, you see what Chief Nsachibon wrote there now? He says that if Ohaneze Ndị Igbo, he says, if Ohaneze Ndị Igbo should be independent and speak out against everything bad, I advise that they shouldn't be funded by any governor because he who pays the piper dictates the tune. But you had said that Ohaneze Ndị Igbo should be funded by every state governor.
No. That what I'm saying is that every state, because look, everything you do, you need funding. Look, what I'm saying that the state should have budget what they are giving to the post of Ohaneze Ndị Igbo, irrespective of whoever is there, not for influence. But my own proposal.
But if you take their money, how can you have? Is the but you know how the government is elsewhere in other climes. You can set that money apart, and it becomes maybe part of the constitution of the state or the council or local government or whatever. So it's not dependent on which governor comes. But in Nigeria, the way it works, everything that the state does is the governor now. If they're going to open it, in fact, they make it the governor is the chief. If they open,
I'm gonna tell you something, even though we are in the media, okay? Because I was following up in Enugu. Rochas was building a parliament for. Go and verify. I will send you the video when he was a governor. I'm not bringing anybody here, right? But we are talking about for the progress. He was building with his own money a parliament where they will have the building of their own, where they will conduct their affair. I'm not gonna go there, but my own proposal for
Ohaneze. You mean Rochas was building?
Yes, I will send you the
Ohaneze in Enugu.
Yes. The very big parliament for them where they will have their own affair. Okay, whether it's political or not political, the building, I don't know what happened. I think the funding, but it's still there. But my proposal here is.
But Rochas is not Enugu governor.
No, that's what I'm telling you. He was state governor, but he was building this for them in Enugu where they possess land. I don't know they donated the land for, but the building we nearly completed, almost to hand over to them. Verify what I'm telling you. But my own proposal is that young youths should get involved in this Ohaneze of a thing, so that our elders should not be doing whatever they want. Secondly, presidency of Ohaneze Ndị Igbo should be scrapped. Ohaneze should constitute a committee that every election, each state will vote their own representative, so that every state will have their own representative voted from their state to represent them, making them a committee instead of one person.
Let me comment on that, and I'll go back to Chief Chooks. You see, here in Canada, in Ontario, okay, let me even down to Toronto, Igbo Union, we adopted a process where we don't have a president, we have the different states, okay, having a representative. But at the end of the day, when you come to that committee of representatives, there is still going to be a spokesperson. So even though we've tried that for some time, but what I'm finding out is that though it's like saying that you have a no-name brand, so you always put no name on that brand. That no name eventually becomes the brand of that brand. So when you say having Ohaneze, a representative council, when you come to that council, 5 people cannot talk at the same time. There must be one person who leads. That person ends up becoming the president of Ohaneze.
Yes, I understand. But what we are talking about, interest and fairness.
No, but at the end of the day, a leader, I mean, a group is as good as their leader. Whoever emerges as the head of that committee is the one who is the signatory to whatever. He is the leader. So
he can oppose something from.
But let's go back to Chooks. Go ahead, Chief Chooks.
Let me just throw some light. You can't have a body taking care of the affairs of millions of people that is headless. That's basic. That's to start with. Secondly, you have to acquaint yourself with the structures of Ohanes and Igbo that are in place today. Because Enugu was the capital of Eastern Nigeria, it still remains the capital of the Igbo country to this day. That is why you have the headquarters of Ohanes and Igbo there. You have Ohanes and Igbo branch in Lagos. You have Ohanes and Igbo in Delta State. You have it here in Anambra. You have it all over. Now, they have something like a parliament that they call Ime Obi, where delegates meet and they hold meetings. It's not as if the president general is a dictator. If they show such tendency, they going against the constitution of Ohanes and Igbo. So it's not as if those structures are not in place. Now, if you have good structures in place and bad operators, you will not achieve anything. So it boils down to what I was saying from the outset, that you must have people who want to strike a blow for the Igbo race, not people who are imposed by outsiders and people who are looking for a big payday, or people who are really sold out. That's what I'm talking about. You have to have a president general. A president general doesn't sit in his father's house to make pronouncements that are binding on Azendibo. They meet. But what you have to do is that you have to excite and incite general interest, especially among the growing population, the young ones. I once raised this troubling issue with an Ohanes executive, where I said, you have this guy who answers Isiguzo or something. He is perpetually issuing contradictory releases on behalf of Ohanes and Igbo. But it's a matter of public record that the man was never elected to such an office. If you did it in the Yoruba country, they will probably take you and show you the way home. Or if you did it in the North, but they're doing it here with impunity. It has continued for years. Nobody is warning the guy. They are not taking him to court. It's obvious that he's not. So this is how they continue to destabilize the Igbo country. Outsiders with their puppets and their slaves. So there's nothing about saving us that is straightforward or that is easy or that will be achieved in one day. A house that has been in disarray for about 60 years now, it cannot be repaired in 60 days because you're not talking of just physical structures. You are talking about the brain. You are talking about the psyche. You are talking about the mindset of the people. And you are talking about the humiliation of the grotesquerie that was Biafra. And these things can't be solved overnight. We have a long way to go, but we just have got to start. Let us start with proper elections that hopefully will put at the helm of affairs people who have in their hearts a love for Ndibo. That's a starting point.
All right. Thank you very much. I have really kept you, for long. I know how it is. I always tell people it's a project to be live in Nigeria and light data and all that. So I really, really appreciate your sacrificing your time and resources to be on this program. I am going to invite you because I'm going to reach out to a lot of people I have this prof that I spoke to the other time. I'm really, when I spoke to him, he's part of a committee that I'm sure if I call his name, you'll know. When Ezife died, they were part of the people that planned his burial and all that. So it's close to happenings. It is important that we begin to organize Ohaneze Ndigbo. We know Ohaneze Ndigbo is more of our elders, and their interaction with the youth is not as much, and that is what Ken Sazubike is advocating. So we would also be looking from that side, because I know that groups like the ones agitating for Biafra, all these groups sprang up because of the vacuum that was created by the inaction of our pan-Igbo organizations. So, Kens, I also want to thank you for your contribution. I know you've been working hard from so many years back on the Igbo matter and Biafra also. So I applaud your efforts. We will all keep on pushing. Where we find ourselves right now is a very, anybody that wants to tell themselves the truth, like Chief Chooks says, will know that we're not in a very good place as a people, and we better do something, because the rate at which the decline is happening, it is so terrible. What we're seeing happening in Igbo land now is something you never imagined in some years back. So it is very terrible. So thank you so much, Ekens. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. And Chief Chooks, thank you very much for coming. Your book, you have a book on Amazon. I'm going to write. I think you have a book on Amazon, right? You send me.
Yes, the Ironsi book. Yes.
Yes, I will. Let me see, because another problem we have.
Even the P2B biography is there too.
Okay,
the title is The Promise of a New Era. Is there too on Amazon.
Okay, let me see. Let me. Yeah, I found your book actually. Yes, I was the one that I found when you talked about it. I went and I Googled and I found the book. So let me share it here, so that those of us who don't know, you can avail yourself of this book. Here is the book published by Chief Chooks. Because the problem we have sometimes is we don't read and arm ourselves with the right information. So here you go, guys. It is, if you have Kindle, it is you don't pay anything. If you already subscribed to Kindle, it is free if you're on Kindle, or you pay $9.99 to buy it. If you're on Kindle, it is free. The paperback is $31.60. Okay, if I were to buy it, I'll buy it for $31. But you check from your own area and see how much it is sold. The book is titled Ironsi, Nigeria, the Army, Power, and Politics by Chooks Ilebunam. Let me see other reads by Chooks Ilebunam. That is okay.
The other book you might find there is the Promise of a New Era. My biography of Mr. Peter.
Let me write. Let me look for Chooks Ilebunam. Guys, this is how you can find his books, by the way. So we have Ironsi, Nigeria, the Army, Power and Politics. We have The Promise of a New Era, Peter Obi story by Chooks Ilebunam. We have General of the People's Army, and by Chooks Ilebunam. General of the People's Army. Okay.
On the Ojukwu, yes.
Yes. Anyways, guys, please go and pick up a copy of these books, and it will encourage Chief Chooks to continue to put out more books. Once again, thank you so much for being part of this program.
My
And
pleasure. Thank you very much.
love to your family. Please stay safe in this December period.
I will. God day.
Yes, and I
God
wish
take
you
care.
happy Christmas in advance. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Okay. Bye bye, sir.
Thank you. And
Bye
greetings
bye.
to your fans. Thank you.
Bye bye. Bye bye. Okay, so that's Chuks Ilebunam. He kept to his promise to come and be part of this program, and I learned a lot. I know this is not the kind of flashy program where you just talk about flimsy things, or you don't talk about serious. No, this is the kind of program where you break bones and you dig into history. And you heard what they said. If you do not know where the rain started beating you, you will not know when it stops. So that's what we're doing. We're going back. I did this a couple of years, if you remember. I went to bring Mobosi, and all those are army generals. I was happy that I interviewed them just before we started losing them as they went to be with the Lord. So right now, I feel an urge to do the same thing because of where Nigeria finds itself. It's not just with Igbo leaders. Yesterday, I had Faru Timi here talking with me, and the other day I had Babaye, and I also had Omoyele Shore. I've been wishing to have Aisha Yusufu on the program too, and maybe she'll be able to come. I hope she will. If not, we'll keep inviting people to let's begin to talk to ourselves. Let's begin to organize and plan for how to take back what belongs to us, which is our country. Now, I'd like to thank you, our listener, you, our subscriber, that continues to support us and make us encouraged to do what we do. Please want to thank all of you, and we'll keep trying our best, okay? And with your continued support. On behalf of Dr. Erica and everyone who is a member of our crew, my name is Dr. Chidi. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.